The cameras are rolling, the music is about to start, and everyone on set knows something special is happening. Behind the elegant gowns, the perfect dances, and the beautiful romance you see on screen, there is a completely different world unfolding just out of frame. Cast members laughing between takes, choreographers counting every step of a ballroom dance, costume designers fixing tiny details on dresses that took weeks to create. And sometimes the most unforgettable moments are the ones that were never meant to be seen at all. Because while viewers wait for the romance of Bridgerton Season 4, the real magic is already happening behind the scenes, and some of it might surprise you. Filming a new season of Bridgerton is always a huge moment for the entire cast and crew, but Season 4 feels especially exciting because the story now turns toward one of the most mysterious members of the family, Benedict Bridgerton. For years, audiences have watched him as the artistic, curious brother who never quite followed the same path as the rest of the family. And now, the spotlight finally shifts to him and his unexpected love story with Sophie Beckett. But while the romance may look effortless on screen, the process of bringing that story to life is anything but simple. Long before a single episode reaches the audience, the cast spends weeks preparing together. They rehearse the dances, study their characters, and slowly build the chemistry that viewers will eventually fall in love with. It's a strange but wonderful experience because the actors are not just performing scenes, they are building an entire world piece by piece. One of the most exciting parts of filming this season has been the return of the grand ballroom rehearsals. These dance rehearsals are not quick or easy. In fact, they can take hours just to perfect a few seconds of movement. The choreographers stand in the middle of the room, counting every step carefully, while the actors repeat the same turns again and again. At first, it might look chaotic with dozens of performers moving across the floor, but slowly everything begins to fall into place. The timing becomes perfect, the music flows smoothly, and suddenly the room transforms into the elegant world that fans recognize from the show. For many of the cast members, these rehearsals are actually some of the most fun days on set. They get to spend time together, laugh at mistakes, and watch each other slowly improve. Sometimes someone misses a step and everyone bursts into laughter. Other times, the music stops completely while the choreographer explains a tiny movement that makes the entire dance feel more romantic. And even though it can be exhausting, those long rehearsal days create a kind of bond between the cast that you can really feel when the cameras start rolling. What makes Season 4 even more special is how the story connects back to the emotional heart of the series. The world of Benedict Bridgerton has always been a little different from the rest of the family. He is creative, thoughtful, and sometimes unsure of where he truly belongs. When he meets Sophie Beckett, that world suddenly changes. Their relationship begins in the most unexpected way, and that unusual beginning becomes one of the most interesting things for the actors to explore behind the scenes. During filming, the cast often talks about how important it is to show the honesty of that relationship. They want the audience to believe every moment, from the first meeting to the quiet conversations that slowly build their connection. That means repeating scenes many times, adjusting small details, and sometimes even changing the way a line is delivered so that it feels more natural. It can take several attempts before everyone feels that the scene truly captures the emotion of the story. And while the romance between the characters is at the center of the rehearsal room is full of movement, music, and quiet concentration. Everyone knows their place on the floor. Every step has been practiced dozens of times, and the atmosphere feels calm and focused. But on a set as large as Bridgerton, even the most carefully planned moment can suddenly turn into something completely unexpected. It happened during one of the ballroom rehearsals for a major scene featuring Benedict Bridgerton and Sophie Beckett. The music began softly, the dancers moved into position, and the entire room fell into that quiet rhythm that happens when everyone is focused on the choreography. Every movement was supposed to flow perfectly. A graceful turn, a gentle step forward, and then the moment where the two characters finally lock eyes in the middle of the dance floor. But just as the music reached that important moment, something unexpected happened. One of the dancers missed a step. At first, it was just a tiny mistake, the kind that usually goes unnoticed. But instead of stopping, the dancer tried to correct the movement while still staying in rhythm with the music. That tiny adjustment caused the next person to shift slightly to the side, and within seconds, the carefully organized pattern of dancers started to look completely different. For a brief moment, the entire ballroom seemed out of sync. Instead of stopping the rehearsal, the choreographer watched carefully to see what would happen next, and strangely enough, something interesting began to unfold. The dancers instinctively adapted to each other, creating a new movement pattern that no one had originally planned. The energy in the room changed immediately. The actors playing Benedict Bridgerton and Sophie Beckett noticed the shift as well. Rather than breaking character, they continued the dance, adjusting their movements naturally as the rest of the performers rearranged around them. What started as a simple mistake suddenly felt like a completely new version of the scene. When the music finally stopped, the entire room burst into laughter. Moments like that are surprisingly common during filming. Even though the show looks incredibly polished on screen, the process behind it is full of improvisation and unexpected discoveries. Sometimes, a mistake reveals something better than the original plan. The choreographers often say that ballroom scenes in Bridgerton are a bit like puzzles. Each dancer represents a moving piece that has to fit perfectly with everyone else. When one piece changes position, the entire pattern must adjust instantly. That's why rehearsals are so important. They allow the cast to become comfortable with the choreography so they can react naturally if something goes wrong. And sometimes, those unexpected moments create the most memorable scenes. The dance rehearsals for Season 4 have been especially exciting because the story between Benedict Bridgerton and Sophie Beckett carries a slightly different energy from previous romances in the series. Their connection is not built only on social expectations or family arrangements. Instead, it grows from a place of curiosity and genuine understanding. That difference changes the way their scenes are performed. During rehearsals, the actors spend a lot of time discussing how their characters would move around each other. Sometimes the smallest gesture, a glance, a pause, or a change in posture can completely transform the feeling of a scene. Those subtle details are carefully practiced until they feel natural. But not every rehearsal is serious. In fact, some of the funniest moments happen when the actors are still learning the dances. Ballroom choreography can be surprisingly complicated, especially when large groups of performers are involved. There are spins, lifts, coordinated steps, and moments where multiple couples move across the floor at the same time. Every once in a while, someone spins in the wrong direction. When that happens, it usually creates a chain reaction. Another dancer might bump into them, someone else might lose the rhythm, and suddenly the entire rehearsal turns into a wave of laughter. Instead of frustration, those mistakes often become the highlight of the day. The cast has mentioned many times that these rehearsals are where some of their favorite memories are made. Spending hours together practicing dance routines allows them to relax, joke with each other, and enjoy the process of creating the show. But the rehearsals are only part of the magic. Just outside the ballroom set, another team is working just as carefully to prepare the visual world of the scene. The costume designers are adjusting dresses and coats, making sure every detail looks perfect under the lights. A single ballroom sequence can involve dozens of outfits, each one designed to reflect the personality and status of the characters wearing them. For the actors, putting on these costumes often changes the way they perform. The moment they step into those carefully crafted outfits, something shifts. The posture becomes more elegant, the movements feel more deliberate, and suddenly the modern rehearsal room begins to feel like a grand Regency ballroom. And then there are the small details hidden inside those costumes. Some accessories include tiny references to earlier moments in the story, little design elements that most viewers may never notice. A piece of embroidery, a color choice, or a carefully designed brooch might quietly connect a character to an earlier scene. These hidden details are often called Easter eggs by the production team. The actors love discovering them.
Sometimes they only notice these details during a costume fitting, when the designers explain the meaning behind a specific design choice. Other times, they discover them while filming, when a small detail suddenly reminded them of an earlier moment in the story. It's these layers of creativity